Let me tell you a parable. Because I feel that people are much more willing to go to a movie they think is going to be mediocre than they are willing to go to a movie that they think is going to be good. It's wrong to believe that people want to go to good movies. They're very suspicious of good movies. They're very willing to go to midstream movies. And I got a call once at the Sun-Times, more than 20 years ago, from a reader who said, we're going to the movies tonight, and in the Wilmette Theater near our home, they're playing Cries and Whispers by Ingmar Bergman. What can you tell us about that movie? And I said, well, I think it's the best movie of the year. And the reader said, oh, that doesn't sound like anything we'd like to see. And that is so true.
I know that does happen.
When
I know
you tell
that's
people,
people say Sense and Sensibilities, just sounds too weird for me.
You say, Breaking the Waves is the strongest emotional experience I've had at the movies in 6 months, with a brilliant performance by Emily Watson. And they'll say, oh, good. What do you think about Jerry Maguire? In other words, they want a little less. They're not really up for, you know?
But I mean,
I don't feel like going to the French restaurant tonight. I just feel like burgers.
The renowned film critic and journalist Roger Joseph Ebert was born June 18, 1942, in Urbana, Illinois. Ebert grew up as an only child in a Roman Catholic household. Ebert's initial interest in journalism began when he was a student at Urbana High School as a sports writer for the News Gazette in Champaign, Illinois. By his senior year of high school, Ebert had become the class president and the editor-in-chief for the school newspaper, The Echo. His first job in the journalism industry began when he was hired for the Chicago Sun-Times in 1966. He had served as a general reporter until 1967, when the current film critic, Eleanor Keene, retired and Ebert was given the job by editor Robert Zonka. In 1975, Roger Ebert had received the Pulitzer Prize for criticism from his work with the Chicago Sun-Times. On September 4th of that year, Roger Ebert joined rival newspaper film critic Gene Siskel of the Chicago Tribune in co-hosting a locally produced film review program titled Sneak Previews, the show having been produced at the Chicago Public Broadcasting Station WTTW. By the year 1982, Roger Ebert and Gene Siskel's show had seen nationwide syndication through PBS, though they had decided to launch their own show titled At the Movies with Gene Siskel and Roger Ebert. Once again, they moved their show to new ownership with Buena Vista Television, a part of the Walt Disney Company, naming the show the permanent name Siskel and Ebert and the Movies in 1986. Throughout the years to come, Siskel and Ebert tirelessly and ruthlessly debated over which films they discussed was better and why. Though at times the pair would become red in the face from anger, they considered each other close friends in the end. By the late 1990s, something began to happen to Gene Siskel. He became tired more often and would have terrible headaches. It was after a trip to the doctor on May 8, 1998, when he had been diagnosed with a cancerous brain tumor. 3 days after the prognosis, Siskel underwent an operation to have the tumor removed. Though at first things seemed well, Siskel died on February 20, 1999 from complications during another operation for the tumor. It was revealed that Gene had hidden his illness from everyone he knew, including Roger. When Ebert had eventually found out about Siskel's illness, he was devastated that Gene had kept it from him. This pain is what led to Roger's total transparency of his illnesses later in life. Though half of the iconic Critic duo had passed on, Roger kept the show running, changing critics between shows for a fresh perspective. Along with the television program, Roger also started a website which bared his name as a way of cataloging his reviews past, present, and future. He also started a blog on the website later when he had lost his ability to speak, so that his voice would still be heard. His website and blog were created before the days of social media, putting him on the forefront of digital communication. Things were going well for Roger, as he had also married to his wife Chaz Ebert at the age of 50 in 1992. Then things took a turn as in the year 2002, Roger had been diagnosed with papillary thyroid cancer.
I've been coming to this conference for 35 years, and this morning I confess that I am a sick person. About 2.5 or 3 years ago, I felt a lump under my chin, and I went to the doctor, and it turned out to be associated with thyroid cancer.
Through a series of surgeries in 2006, Roger Ebert lost both his lower jaw and the ability to speak. Despite the loss of his jaw, Ebert did not lose his fighting spirit. He still made regular public appearances, a well-known being a photo of him that was featured in Esquire magazine in 2010. Whilst hospitalized, a multitude of procedures were attempted in order to restore his ability to speak. They didn't work. Ebert's hospital trips became more frequent, as in 2008 he was hospitalized due to a fractured hip. In 2011, Ebert began to use a prosthetic chin to hide the damage done from both cancer and the multiple surgeries, though he would never speak again. However, he did find a voice, though it wasn't his actual. He found it on his website. Ebert began a blog on his website as a way to share his thoughts and ideas, along with his movie reviews. As social media took off and Facebook and Twitter became widely used, Roger followed. He stayed in touch with fans and film buffs alike, keeping up in the latest film culture conversations. Even though the end of his life was approaching, Roger soldiered on. The following quote by director Werner Herzog sums it up the best.
He is a soldier of cinema. He's a wounded comrade who cannot even speak anymore, and he plows on, and that touches my heart very deeply.
Until the end, Roger reviewed film. Until the end, his voice was heard. Upon the release of this film, it will have been 5 years since the world lost Roger Ebert. But he has not been forgotten. In front of the Virginian Theater in Champaign, Illinois, sits a bronze statue of Roger giving his trademarked thumbs up, with 2 empty seats next to him for people to pose next to him. Ebert's website is as active as it was when he was alive. Ebert had employed several critics along with himself to review films on the website, and his wife Chaz occasionally reviewed films herself. The followers of Ebert's Facebook and Twitter feeds have stayed loyal even though Roger is gone. As of 2018, Ebert's Twitter account has 791,000 followers, and his Facebook with 123,000 followers, respectively, the total being 914,000, with Chaz and other contributors running the respective pages as an archive of Roger's work and legacy. When one visits Roger's website, one is able to see all the film reviews archived since his first review in 1960 of the film Le Petit Soldat. Though the world lost this critic tangibly, he'll never be truly gone. Filmmakers and critics alike view critics gone by and pay tribute by creating work of the caliber those critics would approve of. 5 years later, and the world has not forgotten about Roger Ebert. Thank you for advocating well-thought-out films, Mr. Ebert. Thank you, Roger.